All right, rolling pop. What an absolute disaster.
Tremendous disappointment.
I had a quote earlier. I'm going to botch it now. Those who do not pay attention to history are doomed to repeat it. We did not pay attention to history today. Let's get into it. Dom and Pop, DC Sports Talk Plus podcast.
If you guys are eliminated today by what happens at 4 o'clock, is Sam Howell in consideration?
We can be eliminated.
Yeah, if the Packers beat the Vikings,
that's
then
right.
you guys are eliminated.
Well, we'll see.
Pop, what a nightmare.
That's an awful game.
Couldn't have drawn it up worse. And I'm an alarmist when it comes to this kind of stuff typically. And no, that's not an exaggeration for once. We could not have drawn that up worse.
Now, it was a poor performance, across the board. Take the lead at halftime. So I think defense kept things pretty much under control through the first half. But the team in general just generally completely fell apart in the second half. Total domination by Cleveland. I think if you go back and look at, our keys to the game, I think just about every one of them was a fail. I think we both talked about needing good quarterback play. We'll get into that. That was awful. Horrible decision there to change quarterbacks. It couldn't establish the running game. At the end of the day, especially in the second half, poor performance by the defense, which we didn't need. They were missing a bunch of guys. Yeah, I think, look, I realize we're not, as we record this, which is right after the game, we're not mathematically eliminated, but it's over, people. And, we get to kind of, apropos on today, first day of 2023, we get to start talking about the 2023 season going forward. We won't spend much time on that today because it's just, not much good we can say about this one today. Very disappointing.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief for you in terms of the season being over. I know not mathematically eliminated, technically, but if you look at Green Bay, formidable team, they got to lose tonight. So you got primetime Kirk. You got to bet against that. And then Dallas is in a meaningful game next week against us. Philly lost today. So everything that could have gone against us has gone against us. And now, if you think after what you saw today, there's any chance we beat Dallas next week when they are trying, I want some of whatever you're smoking or drinking or whatever, because it must be pretty good.
I don't know how the schedule's going to play out. If Philly beats the Giants, and Giants are playing pretty well, and Philly's sliding. So, maybe that game ends up being meaningless, after all for Dallas. But, what's the point of backing in? A tie and then 3 straight losses. It's just, there's nothing good about it. There's nothing good that can be said about it. And we haven't played well. The ridiculousness of saying we were the better team in any of those games, and obviously no one could say that today. We weren't, and we haven't been the better team since. Look at what the Giants did to the Colts. They destroyed them today. Destroyed them. They took care of business.
That's a team we couldn't eke by 3 points or something like that. We just barely squeaked by that team.
It is what it is, and
I'll bring some optimism to it. Maybe we do have to watch it next week, but today, without a shadow of a doubt, has proved the Carson Wentz experiment is a complete failure. And if you've been like me, going, what the hell are we doing the entire way? You can see now there's no chance. He is, I don't think, starting in the NFL next year, let alone in Washington, D.C. There's no way. And I think that is a total blessing for us.
Yeah, so when the change was made, I wanted to try to be hopeful, but I have to admit, and I know that I've been more supportive of the Wentz situation than you have for sure. But inside, and you're just going to have to trust me on this one, I never really had a lot of hope this is going to work out.
I'll bail you out, Pop. We drew straws, right? And the guy with the short straw he had to be the Wentz apologist for the year. You just landed on the short straw.
I haven't been a Wentz apologist. I hate when you say that.
I'm just teasing.
I hate when you say that.
I was just teasing.
All I said was that I didn't think that we'd seen enough. Well, we've seen enough. We've absolutely seen enough. And, what he did was he just supported the narrative that everyone was looking at in terms of what happened with the Colts last year, and he had an opportunity here. Besides the fact that I think when you really look at it, it just was a stupid move.
Yep.
What's going to get proven with 2 games left? If you stuck with Heineke this far, continue to stick with him. And I don't think I ever said I thought it was a good move. It was the move that was made. And you're going, and you're
being a fan. You're trying as a fan to be excited about it, and I can respect that.
And I still don't think Taylor's the answer, but is he the best option at this point? I mean, there's little doubt about that.
Look, Taylor has had some ineffective games. I don't think this year Taylor has completely broken the team the way that Wentz did today.
But the last game wasn't ineffective by him. I mean, other than the one interception and whether the sack fumble is his problem or not. He played pretty well. And he obviously, I think there is a lot to be said with the supports the team gives Taylor. Nothing could be worse than Carson coming out and throwing 2 interceptions early, and the team's just deflated. There just isn't trust in him being able to win with this team. And it was all the same kind of things that we saw before. All of a sudden, Terry's not involved.
4 targets today, 2 catches.
It just went right back to where we were at the beginning of the season. I didn't think it was enough of a sample size. It clearly was. You were right. You want that investment to work. You see the guy, like we talked about, he's kind of like shiny sports car, doesn't run very well. He's got all the tools and the talent, but it doesn't matter. At this point, we're back where we started. The switch to Carson was just a total failure at this point. The acquisition of Carson Wentz is a complete failure. That's all on Ron Rivera. At the end of the day, it's all on Ron. He's making these decisions, and the team just wasn't ready to get this done this week. And I think that if Heineke plays, it could be a completely different result. Than what we have right now.
Here's the problem. I'm going to try to keep it brief. Offensive breakdown on why Carson Wentz was never going to work in this system. And then we can get on to further stuff. We're doing pretty good on time. So, we have a second here. The problem is the way Scott Turner's offense works is he's sending, and most modern offenses in the NFL, you're sending guys deep to clear out the zone. Because the NFL primarily, a lot of zone coverage nowadays. Man-to-man is hard. Cornerbacks have the hardest job in the NFL. Yep. They're running a lot of zone. It's a lot of match zone coverage. So the way to combat that is to run clear out routes. Run guys like Curtis Samuel, who, maybe once every, 20 times you run the play is going to get open, but most of the time he's a decoy. And then you take your best players and you run them underneath, hence Terry McLaurin on that first interception that Wentz through, and they're wide open. And Terry is a big yak guy. So you get the ball in Terry's hands, Terry can go for another 15, 20, 25, 30 yards after he catches. So the whole design of the offense is to clear out the zone and then take it underneath. And that's why when you've seen the team be effective with Heineke, you go, well, all he's doing is checking the ball down. He can't throw the ball downfield. And when you've seen the team be terrible with Wentz, you're going, why is he forcing the long ball? Why is he forcing the long ball? And that's my problem, is when this is your offensive design and when this is somebody who never played a down of football in his life can pick up on this being your offensive design. How do you bring in the quarterback whose entire MO is he tries too hard to make the big play? How?
Yeah. No doubt.
That's the problem.
No doubt. And I think, look, I am not going to sit here in defense of Scott Turner because I don't think he's coached particularly well. But in a way, I feel for him because he's had to coach in spite of the quarterback play. He's had to coach around the quarterback play in both cases, right? And although, no doubt, no argument, Heineke is the much better option and he's a gamer and he gives you all he's got. you just see it. You saw it today, and we've seen it with Heineke in too. You know, he's not calling the offense with the full confidence in who's behind center.
So that's the
right?
problem.
And it's an issue, like, because if you think about it, put yourself in his shoes for a second, right? You're just constantly in your mind going, can the quarterback make the play that he needs to make? And it's got to be extremely difficult situation to coach in. Again, not defending the coach, but we're right back where we started. Beginning of last offseason, we don't have a quarterback, and it's frustrating. But I think if there's any silver lining in all of this, and this is crazy to say, but it's the state of being a Washington football fan, a Commanders fan, for all these years. There was a part of me, there was an underlying part of me that couldn't completely enjoy the success we were having earlier in the season, because I didn't want Dan Snyder to have any level of justification for anything that he's done with this organization. And at least the only silver lining is that it does appear that we're looking at ownership change. Let's just hope that comes through, and it could just be a clean slate and a clean start. And obviously, the new owner doesn't have to be burdened by anything that's going on right now. I can just assess the situation and make the changes that are necessary, going forward. And so if there's any silver lining in it, it's that we have plenty of time to talk about that in the off season. We'll shift our focus a bit to playoff football and NFL going forward and the teams that are actually in it. But,
yeah.
Anyway,
I
it's
tried.
exhausting.
I called American Express. I tried to open up my limit to see if I could get a bid down for that new ownership position, but I don't have $7 billion lying around. But you'd hope. I mean, football is not as simple as we make it out to be as fans, but you hope whoever's coming in with that $7 billion can sit down for 30 seconds, maybe with the Dom and Pop podcast, and say, all right, guys, what do we got? And what we got is a lot of playmakers, and we just got to find a way to get them the ball. And if we can figure that out, and hopefully, like you said, I'm very much nuke everything, clean house after this. I've been feeling that way since the Bears game, and then they kind of brought me back a little bit with the run. But again, we have all of season to talk about that.
The reality is,
hopefully, there's some optimism going.
Real quick, because it needs to be said, the coaches haven't earned the right to come back.
They've been horrible.
Quarterbacks haven't earned the right to come back.
Also been horrible.
There are some really good things about this roster. It was unfortunate that we didn't have a healthy defense today, but with the offense, doesn't put up points. There's only so much that the defense can do. This is a really good defense. It's not a great defense. It's not elite defense. It's not defense that, like maybe San Francisco, that you're gonna ride the season on. That they're not that level. And the fact that they've put in a top 10 defensive performance this year, that's great. It's a hell of a turnaround. Credit to defensive coaches and the talent that they've got there, and all those things, the young players that they've bet on have come through. But, ultimately no one has earned their right to come back on this team. And we'll see what happens. It's always difficult to make changes like that with new ownership. But it's where we are, and there's going to be plenty of time to talk about all the changes that need to be made. But We're right back where we started. Honestly, that's the saddest part about all of this. There's no progress made with this team this year. Zero.
Another 7-win season. I mean, who knows what happens next week, but who cares? Another 500 or below, the 9th of Ron Rivera's career.
A good scenario for next week would have been that it's a meaningless game and we could see Sam Howell, right?
You can't even have that.
But more than at this point, like we talked about, Eagles on a slide, that's probably going to be a really meaningful game for the Cowboys. And if it is, that could be super ugly. And I don't, I debate for the pregame pod, but I don't see the point in throwing Sam Howell in for one game. And then what? If he looks good, great. If he stinks, then what? That ship has sailed in a way for this year. I wouldn't burden the kid with that. Just go back to Taylor, see what Taylor can do, and maybe salvage a win in that last game. Pull out some Heineke magic.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, says it all. There's not much more to be said there. We'll probably do a full postseason breakdown, maybe the first week after it's all over or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We
Let's
look
move on to
good,
our
son.
awards. We look good.
I mean, something to be said for that. That's a sharp Terry McLaurin white jersey. I got this brand new shirt given to, man, that was a slip, given to me by my brother. So I love it. Nice, sharp-looking shirt. Sorry I tainted it with a loss today. But, yeah, Christmas is good.
Yeah, and I guess one other positive thing, too, right, as we get in our post-game awards, Commander Tutty.
Yeah?
Boy looks good.
I know you're a fan.
I'm pro Tutty. I'm very pro Tutty.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Why the hell didn't we just name the team the Hogs? But anyways, very pro Tutty.
Major Tutty, to be exact.
Major Tutty. There you go. I love it. Great mascot. I mean, that's the thing is the team's just going to be referred to as the Hogs now at this point. You got the one-syllable nickname. You got the mascot. They're going to be the Hogs. But so that's good. I'm happy about that. Anyways, speaking of things we're happy about, let's get into the post-game awards. Tough one to give out awards today because everybody just sucks. And Mello is not too happy about it. The resident puppy. He's not too stoked on the game either. That's him. He's going, why the hell did he start Wentz?
Where are you guys?
That's what he said. Yeah, he's like, where are you guys? Let me get on there. He's not happy with Carson Wentz today. But Sauce Award, Deron Payne, best player on the field. As per usual, he gets 2 sacks today, which brings him up to 11.5 on the year, I think.
Yeah, incredible. And I mean, tackles for losses, and there were a lot of problems that he caused that, you know, that maybe didn't make the stat sheet, but he was pretty dominant. And especially, you know, with Jonathan Allen going out hurt, he really picked up the slack. And It's been terrific all year. Sign that guy, please.
Yeah, all the money he needs. I know 11.5 sacks doesn't sound insane when you look at a defensive lineman, but guys on the interior of the D-line,
it's a team record.
That's more of a run-stopping position, and the fact that he's getting 11.5 sacks playing on the inside of that line is incredible. He's having an all-time year. He's having one of the best Commander years I've had the opportunity to witness in my lifetime. So also word to Deron Payne. Very pro Deron Payne podcast. Went out on a limb for him at the beginning of the year in the preseason, and you know he's held it down for me. Love me some Deron Payne.
Absolutely.
So helmet stickers. We had to get a little creative with this one because everybody sucks. We got Montez Sweat with 1, another great defensive lineman. He had a sack, 2 tackles for losses. Major Tutty. He's the next one because you know what? Finally, they got something right off the field. Finally. So Major Tutty gets a helmet sticker. And then I think we're going to wrap it up with, do we want to give Tuhel one? He had a couple impactful plays at a point in the game where they would have been impactful had Carson Wentz not been the starting quarterback of the football team. I think we give Tuhel one. It's one of those things where you're watching the game and you're going, we have no shot. But you look at the scoreboard, and these are impactful plays, but you just know because Carson Wentz is coming back out on the field, you got no chance. So that brings us to our Kekats of the game. Kekats of the season. I think it's premature to call it, but Kekats of the season is Carson Wentz existing and wearing burgundy and gold for the entire year. Kekats of the game.
The quarterback situation
has got to be
the quarterback situation. Don't make it personal.
The answer to the quarterback situation being Carson Wentz has to be the Kekats of the game.
Well, and the decision to go back to Carson. At the end of the day, it was a horrible decision. There's no defending it. I mean, he looked terrible. Just look at the stats, the quarterback rating, any measurable way you want to look at it. Anyone that defended the decision, which, you know, if you want to put me in that camp, fine. It just didn't work out, and there's no going back from that. And I mean, it was frustrating to me that our best option is Taylor Heineke, but clearly our best option is Taylor Heineke by far. Don't mess around with it. I'm going to revise the statement I made about if you need to bring one back, it's got to be Taylor for sure.
Not even
close.
Yeah.
Not even close. And hopefully we can figure it out. I don't know, but plenty of time to talk about.
Yeah,
that.
My problem's not with Taylor. I think Taylor's as good as you can ask for out of a backup quarterback. And you look at the situations he's been in. There was he was never supposed to start. He's made the best of his opportunities.
Is a 31.4 quarterback rating good?
I think I could have thrown that.
Yeah, he probably could have. Do
they give zeros? If they, I think
that's close to a zero as
I
you
think
can
that's
get.
confirmation that they don't give zeros, because if they gave zeros, Wentz would have got one today. So that's the kick out to the game. Let's go around the NFL. Got some real interesting stuff happening here. The Bucks beat the Panthers to clinch the division. Lions absolutely ran over the Bears. They are probably the hottest team, one of the hottest teams in the NFC right now, to grab the last playoff spot from us. That's kind of making things difficult for us. And then the Patriots over Miami, 23-21. That's kind of a shocker. And Pop?
That has playoff implications.
Yeah, huge playoff implications there. Pop going to do some more around the horn on his side.
And Jacksonville, similar situation as the Bucks, that 500 record, but they get the win over the Texans to go 8-8.
Regardless of what happened today with the Jacksonville game, that's why I skipped it. It comes down to next week against Tennessee.
Okay, that's good, but it's still got playoff implications.
So that's I guess, yeah, but it didn't matter. That's why Dobbs started on.
Well, that's a knowledgeable
Thursday night
that you just dropped there, son. So
yeah, that was the thinking behind.
The people.
That was the thinking behind starting Dobbs against Dallas. Was you don't want to throw Willis out there, and he's got a must-win game. And if you do play Dobbs, hey, maybe he plays well. That's an intelligent quarterback choice by a good football coach named Mike Vrabel, something we would know nothing about here in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Anyways, continue, Pop. And we're back.
We are back.
Woo!
Wow.
It's a close one there. Thought we almost lost the whole thing.
One of those days the computer just froze up and glitched. What are you going to do?
Not unlike the Commanders, although things looked awful, we were not technically mathematically eliminated from finishing the podcast today.
But anyway, I mean, what we were talking about is the fact that New Orleans beat Philly 20-10. Philly's on a real slide. So now it makes next week's game. Philly plays the Giants. Obviously, the Commanders play Dallas. And, whatever results from that, if Philly would have to lose, Dallas would have to win for Dallas to win the division. So, hey, why not go up against one of the best teams in the NFC in a meaningful game against that to end our season? Who knows? Maybe we can pull something out of our hat and spoils Dallas' chance to win the division or something good like that. But going to be a tough one. So, yeah, I just wanted to give a quick playoff picture as it stands right now. So you got Kansas City and Buffalo. Kansas City, I guess technically, they're fighting it out for the top spot. Cincinnati's in the third playoff spot as it stands right now. Baltimore's got a big game against Steelers tonight. They're in the fourth spot. I guess not technically because they wouldn't be a division winner, but you got the Chargers, Jacksonville, and now New England. Interesting enough, they've edged in front of Miami with that win against Miami, so they got a break with Tua being out. And then in the NFC, we talked about Philly vying for that top spot, but dropped another game. Minnesota, I guess, could tie Philly. I don't know who's got the tiebreaker if they get the win tonight. Dallas, we talked about that already. San Francisco, we know they're rolling. The Giants, Tampa Bay, and Detroit, that would make the playoff picture in the NFC. So, I guess the good news is that Dom and Pop will roll on. We'll be talking playoff football, and that'll be fun. Too bad our boys are not looking likely to be part of that.
Yeah, funny thing, that Detroit team, just refresh my memory. Is that the team that was supposed to be one of the worst teams in the NFL at the start of the year and hung 22 points on us in the first half?
Them.
Is that they were awful after that? We were their only win for most of the season until they got on this heater. Is that the same? Right, so it's almost like.
What's your point there?
It's almost like
they're proved to be a pretty good team.
It's almost like the football games in September and October actually matter. And for the last 4 years, we've coached as if they're preseason games.
Well, what it proves, and I mean, sure, we'll do it again in the offseason, and looking at the schedule is just ridiculous because Jacksonville and Detroit both could end up being playoff teams. Granted, barely playoff teams, but they're two teams that people expected to be two of the worst in the NFL, and they certainly didn't turn into that. So you got to take care of your own business. That's really what my son's trying to say. So you got to take care of your own business and, slow starts, then we rally, and then just, the one thing that Rivera is supposed to be is finish strong, and that's certainly not happening this season.
Just eerily similar to how last year went, where you kind of go on that run, which I think ended in Vegas. I think we were there for the last game of it. And you're going, holy crap.
And then it falls apart.
We're going to do it. And then what happens to every team in December happens. injuries. Last year we got hit by COVID. That was kind of weird thing, but at the end of the day, it's just like the way we run the offense. We've run this. It's been a completely unsustainable, mathematically illogical formula for victory and success for this team for the last 4 years, and it shows itself again. Well, 3 years, sorry. It shows itself again today. So,
Son, I'm about to drop some knowledge on you right now.
That's how we'll wrap it up.
Are you
Go
ready
ahead.
for it?
Go ahead. Yeah, drop it on.
Are you ready for it?
Drop
Listen, because this is important. It's a quarterback-driven league. And if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to be able to do too much in this league. And we don't have a quarterback. And this team is okay. The rest of the team is okay. I think it's a playoff caliber defense, not a championship caliber defense, because my definition of championship caliber defense is a defense that can carry you to a championship. We're not there. It's playoff caliber. Offensive line is a real problem. We got plenty of weapons, though, otherwise on offense, but we don't have a quarterback. As long as that situation remains, we're going to remain a mediocre team, because this team with a quarterback would have been a playoff team this year. And,
Yep.
The coaching hasn't been great. No question about it. But again, having to coach around a quarterback situation that we have, isn't helping. What'd you think of that, son?
Well said. Well said. I agree. I mean, another profound take from Pop there. But you know what? Sometimes I think we try to make football complicated as a way to give, because we all get personally attached to these guys, these coaches, these players, and we try to overcomplicate football as a way to make excuses for these people that we grow to care about and we grow to wish success upon as fans. But at the end of the day, I like the way you outlined it. It's very simple. It's a quarterback-driven league. We do not have one. We haven't had one. And we spent the entire offseason talking about how we were going to go get one. And we got Carson Wentz.
Well, and where the coaches failed and where the coaches failed and the decisions failed is that I don't feel like at the end of the day, they put Taylor in the best position too, right? We've established through the course of this pod, I'll wrap it up here. Taylor's the best option. I don't think they always put him in the best position to succeed. And ultimately, if he's the best option, you got to know that as a coach, and you got to go for it. And, their decision to go with Wentz obviously was a poor one. They should have known that. They're in the building with him all the time. So, but anyway, we got plenty of time to talk about that. I think what we'll be talking about more of is who's the next candidate to be QB1.
Another year.
Yeah.
Another year doing it. And it just further proves that point, in my opinion, of we get attached to these people and we make excuses for them. And I think Rivera is the perfect example of that. I think and Turner as well, the next most important thing to a good quarterback is a good coach. And I don't think you can make any argument over the last 3 years we've been anything better than definitively mediocre.
But the beautiful
overall
thing about sports is it's the scoreboard, right? I mean, that's the one great thing
Concrete
about
results.
Sports. It's the scoreboard. And the scoreboard shows 3 straight losses, a tie and 3 straight losses when we had an opportunity to control our own destiny. Everyone needs to be held accountable for that.
100%.
Everybody on the football
100%.
team. And it always starts with the leaders and the coaches. You can't hide from that.
The scoreboard.
There's no defending it.
The scoreboard shows a 7-5 team going in to play the weakest team in their division twice before a bye week, with the opportunity to control their own destiny, go into the playoffs, and a team that is already looking at who do you think we can pick off in the wild card. That Minnesota game was close. It was a 1-score game. And
let's face it, we were winning ugly up to that point.
Well, yeah, what the scoreboard and the tape shows is a complete and utter failure on all systems and a incredible amount of rigidity and reluctance to adapt, work with what you have, and put your own ego and philosophies aside to do what's best for the team.
But I tell you what, son.
Strong words by me to end the pod. I know.
Very strong, and I think it's appropriate. But we got a hell of a dinner being cooked upstairs, and we're going to end this thing right and enjoy the rest of the night. And I know you're heading back to L.A., so it was
Hopefully
great
soon.
great
Yep.
having you in town. Sorry the football team didn't cooperate, but we had an awesome time. So let's wrap it up. End it right.
Yep. Hey, without further ado, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
Thanks for another great week, guys.